Okay, let's just dive right into this. There is no passion to be found playing small and settling for a life that's less than the one you're capable of living. Those are the words of the incredible Nelson Mandela, and wow, do they set the stakes for what we're looking at today. Because, let's be honest with ourselves. Settling, it's the easy route. But actually living the life you are truly capable of? Well, that requires something that terrifies pretty much all of us: the absolute willingness to fail.
Welcome to The Explainer. Today, our core goal is to completely flip how we view failure. We're going to deconstruct the anatomy of falling forward. We're taking failure from being this dreaded, awful endpoint that we all naturally run away from and transforming it into the ultimate guiding force. We'll be looking at the science, the history, and some deeply personal moments of rejection that prove why failing isn't just like an okay thing to do, it's absolutely mandatory.
So, to kick things off, we really need to talk about something you've probably been told your entire life: the fallback trap. It's that incredibly well-meaning, but honestly deeply flawed conventional wisdom. You know the advice, right? Make sure you have something to fall back on. Get a safe degree just in case your real passion doesn't work out. But if you really think about it, having something to fall back on creates this psychological safety net that actually limits how high you're willing to jump in the first place. And that brings us to this crucial contrast between falling back and falling forward. When you fall back, you're quite literally bracing for impact. You're hitting something you can't even see. It's a retreat from the world. But the bold strategy? Falling forward. Listen, if you're going to stumble, if you're going to crash and burn anyway, fall forward. Because at the very least, that way you are going to see exactly what you're about to hit. You actually learn from the impact. Let's look at some hard evidence for a second. 2,600. That is the exact number of times the legendary Reggie Jackson struck out during his baseball career. I mean, that's the most strikeouts in the entire history of Major League Baseball. But let me ask you, is that what anybody remembers about Reggie Jackson? No way. People only remember the home runs. Those 2,600 strikeouts, they were just the required price of admission to get into the history books.
And this brilliantly illustrates our next point, looking at the scientific side of things. 1,000, Thomas Edison conducted 1,000 completely failed experiments. Literally 1,000 times he stood in his lab and produced absolutely nothing of commercial value. But he didn't quit and he didn't fall back on a safer job. Why? Because the 1,001st try, well, that was the incandescent light bulb.
Every single failed experiment is simply one step closer to success. And look, this isn't just some poetic, feel-good concept to make us feel better about losing. This is the literal, scientific, and athletic formula for breakthroughs. Taking risks and failing big, it's not the opposite of success. It is the absolute pathway to it. You literally cannot reach the light bulb without those 1,000 burned-out filaments.
Which brings us to a really blunt reality. If you don't fail, you're not even trying. To get something you've never had, you have to do something you've never done. And here's the totally unvarnished truth. You are going to lose at some point. You will embarrass yourself. You're going to flat out suck at something. There is absolutely no doubt about it. You just have to accept it, embrace it even, because it's just an unavoidable part of the whole process.
Let's move to a deeply personal story from our source material that really humanizes this lesson. Imagine being a young actor, right? Just starting out. Step 1, you audition for what seems like the absolutely perfect Broadway musical role. Step 2, you fail, spectacularly. Mostly because, well, you actually cannot sing. It's embarrassing. It's this harsh public rejection. But look at step 3. You don't quit. You don't look for a backup plan. You walk out of that theater and you just start preparing for the next audition, and the next, and the next.
Now, what's so fascinating is the payoff of that stubborn persistence. Because as they say, if you hang around the barbershop long enough, sooner or later you're gonna get a haircut. You'll catch a break. For the narrator of our source text, that break happened 30 years later, starring in a massive hit Broadway play called Fences. And the real kicker? It was at the Court Theater, the exact same theater where that catastrophic, tone-deaf audition happened 3 entire decades earlier. Talk about full circle. Moving on to Section 2, Failure Points, the way. Sometimes it's the best way to figure out exactly where you're going. We so often view failure as this massive brick wall, right? Like a stop sign telling us to turn around. But sometimes failure is actually a compass. It's the best possible way to figure out exactly where you're supposed to be going. Take this perfect example of a totally chaotic, non-linear journey. Our narrator starts out at Fordham University as a pre-med student, takes one single look at a course called cardiac morphogenesis, can't even pronounce it, let alone pass it, so they pivot to pre-law, then to journalism. With zero academic focus, their grades absolutely tanked to a 1.8 GPA.
The university very politely suggests taking some time off. So at 20 years old, they hit rock bottom, just sitting aimlessly in their mother's beauty shop in Mount Vernon. It looks like a total unrecoverable failure, doesn't it?
But it was exactly in that low point on March 27, 1975, sitting right there in that beauty shop, that a profound turning point happened. An older woman in the shop just kept staring at him through the mirror. Finally, she takes the dryer off her head and says this, "Young boy, I have a prophecy, a spiritual prophecy. You are going to travel the world and speak to millions of people." I mean, what a wild thing to say to a college dropout with a 1.8 GPA. And yet, in the years that followed, through a wildly successful movie career, that prophecy came entirely true. The academic failure literally pointed the way to the right path.
And taking that path is so vital because there is real work to be done out there. From South Africa and the Middle East to Japan, Alabama, Tennessee, Louisiana, and Philadelphia, the world is huge and the world is struggling. These places desperately need the time, the talent, the prayers, and the treasures of a fearless generation. They need people who aren't afraid to stumble in the pursuit of making a real, actual difference.
So I want to just pause for a second here and ask you directly, what are you going to do with what you have? And I'm not talking about how much money is in your bank account. Some of you have business degrees, some are nurses, theologians, sociologists. Some of you possess incredible patience, or kindness, or just the sheer grit of long suffering. Whatever your unique individual gift is, what are you going to do with it? Are you going to play it safe? Because playing it safe comes with a pretty devastating cost. I want you to imagine something really visceral right now. Imagine standing at the very end of your life. You're on your deathbed, and standing around that bed, just waiting in the shadows, are figures. The deathbed ghosts. What exactly are these ghosts? Well, they're the literal representations of your unfulfilled potential. They're the ghosts of the incredible ideas you never acted on, simply because you were afraid to fail. They're the ghosts of the talents you didn't use because you chose to fall back on something a little safer. And they are standing around your bed, and they are angry, disappointed, and upset. They're looking right at you, saying, "We came to you because you could have brought us to life, and now we have to go to the grave together."
Which leaves us with one final pretty heavy question. How many ghosts are going to be around your bed when your time comes? It's a terrifying thought, isn't it? But honestly, it is also the ultimate motivation. Don't be discouraged by setbacks. Please, don't hold back your gifts. Give absolutely everything you've got to the world, take the really big risks, and when you inevitably stumble along the way, just make sure you fall forward.